Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a warm welcome to today's webinar on the Malaysian-EFTA Economic Partnership Agreement. And of course, a good afternoon to all of you joining from Asia, especially from Malaysia. Today's program is designed to give you first insights into the agreement that was officially signed last Monday, June 23. My name is Angela Di Rosa, Senior Consultant, Southeast Asia at Switzerland Global Enterprise, and I will guide you through this event. Here you have already the agenda, quickly going through. After my introduction, I will hand over to Anja Fiedler, Chief Export Promotion and Global Network Officer and Deputy CEO, Switzerland Global Enterprise. Following her words, we are pleased to welcome Her Excellency Chantal Moser, Swiss Ambassador to Malaysia, joining us live from KL. And then returning to Switzerland to hear from Ms. Ilona Greminger and Mr. Michael Alder of the State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, who will give an overview into the agreement with a focus on international movement of goods. Afterwards, a panel discussion with three distinguished guests from Ernst & Young, Swissmem, and a leading Swiss company based in Penang, so back to Malaysia. Then it's time for you participants, dear participants. We will have a Q&A session. And finally, before we close, we are honored to hear from the Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of Malaysia in Switzerland, who will share some closing remarks. Wrap up about Switzerland Global Enterprise, why Switzerland Global Enterprise is your key partner on your internationalization journey. We are here to support your smooth market entry, whether it's through market analysis or challenging your entry strategies, identifying new local partners, or simply open new doors. We do this together with our global network, the so-called Swiss business hubs, as well as in close collaboration with chambers of commerce and with industry experts. Here, the map where we are. Again, some housekeeping notes. As you have probably noticed already, your microphones are muted, but the chat is open, so feel free to submit your questions there. Webinar will be recorded and you get the link afterwards. And finally, before you leave today, we kindly ask you to fill out a short feedback survey. It only takes a minute, but it really helps us. And with that, I will hand over with a great pleasure to Ms. Anja Fiedler for her welcome remarks on behalf of the Executive Board. Anja, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Angela. And good morning, respectively, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yeah, definitely, it's really a great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Executive Board of Switzerland Global Enterprise to this, I would say, really timely and also significant event. And why significant? I think an agreement like this just doesn't come together overnight. I guess we all know that, but I would like to mention that it requires dedication, it requires persistence, patience, and most importantly, collaboration. Yeah, and first and foremost, I would therefore like to thank everybody who has been involved in making this happen. So this includes, on the one hand, the negotiating delegations on both sides, the representatives of EFTA, our colleagues at SECO who are joining also today, and of course all institutions and partners who also contributed their expertise and commitment to making this happen. You may know that in recent months, EFTA has concluded free trade agreements with two other major Asian economies, namely India and Thailand, besides others in other regions. And it's important to realize that each of those agreements really reflects unique opportunities with the partner country, because they're all different, whether it's about rules of origin, tariff schedules, digital trade, sustainability, different areas. So therefore, it's always really important to understand the details. And that's why we are here today. But together, these free trade agreements, I would say, really form a very modern trade architecture and opens, most importantly, new opportunities for Swiss companies, especially SMEs. Yeah, and thereby they do strengthen our global competitiveness. You may have seen just a few days, weeks ago, that Switzerland made it back to the #1 place in the Global Competitiveness Index. So, and free trade agreements clearly play a role in that as well. But let's turn to today's focus, namely Malaysia. So Malaysia is an extremely dynamic market. We have over 35 million people, a really young and very skilled population. And Malaysia is also growing in importance as a hub for innovation and for access to the ASEAN region. So I would say this agreement really lays a very strong foundation to deepen our bilateral trade in a very sustainable and also mutually beneficial way. So I would say let's create these opportunities together. And now it's my pleasure to hand over to somebody who represents Switzerland interest in Malaysia with, I would say, really great dedication as well. Our ambassador in Kuala Lumpur, Ms. Chantal Moser, Your Excellency Ambassador, the floor is yours. Thank you very much again.
Dear Anja, dear participants, it seems that we have a technical issue. Our ambassador is unfortunately not in yet. We are trying to connect with her, but I would say we take this time to go into the presentation itself. So we move to the team, Michael Alder and Ilona Greminger. We have here two advisors from SECO that know even more than what is written in the papers, because Ilona, for instance, if I'm right, she has been involved in this negotiation for some years. So there are no better representatives who could provide an overview on the concrete aspects of the free trade agreement with a focus on trade in goods. So I would say, Team SECO, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning or afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be participating at today's webinar. Just a few words on myself in terms of my participation to the negotiations. I've been part of negotiations since the beginning. It was in 2012. In different capacity, I was working then with the EFTA Secretariat. After that, I led for some years the negotiations on the IPR matters when I was working at the Swiss IP office before joining SECO about not quite a year ago. So negotiations, as you understand, date back. The start dates back to about 2012. And the agreement, as was already mentioned, was signed last Monday. Of course, there has been a bit of time elapsed since then. I think also one thing that we should remember is we had the COVID pandemic, which slowed down the process quite a bit at that time. My colleague Ilona will be providing you with information with respect to trading goods, the outcomes in that group. Before I pass the floor to her, I would like to give you a brief outline of the more general results of the negotiations, so that you have a bit of an understanding of the scope and the content of the free trade agreement, and trying to sum up a little bit the main benefits of the free trade agreement. We'll then also, at the very end, briefly give you a bit of estimation of the time frame that we foresee before the agreement enters into force. So what does the free trade agreement contain? What's in it? So obviously there is the whole section on trading goods, which Ilona will be talking about it. But as a modern and comprehensive free trade agreement, it also covers other areas such as services, investment, competition, the protection of intellectual property rights, which is of course a key element for Switzerland. Public procurement, trade and sustainable development is also part of the agreement. The agreement will, of course, provide more legal certainty to Swiss companies. It will also try to eliminate and prevent any discriminatory treatment that companies from Switzerland, from EFTA states, are facing in Malaysia. In this regard, we can of course note that Malaysia is a member of the CPTPP, which I understand entered into force for Malaysia in November 2022. Malaysia is also, as I understand it, negotiating with the European Union. So here, by concluding the agreement now, of course, the aim from the EFTA side is that on the long term, we ensure that our companies are facing a level playing field in their activities in Malaysia. So let me briefly turn to trade in services. So the trade in services agreement is based on the WTO GATS agreement. We have, however, been able to include or improve market access elements, for instance, for business services, for telecommunication services, and also for maritime transport services. We've also included an annex on financial services, which is also a key sector of interest for Swiss companies, which this annex provides some transparency and licensing rules, and hence provides, in some ways, more certainty to Swiss stakeholder. We've also included an investment chapter which provides for non-discriminatory rights of established EFTA Swiss companies in certain sectors in Malaysia. Turning to intellectual property rights, this is, of course, also a key element, and is included in the comprehensive agreement with Malaysia. We have generally reflected the protection that TRIPS, the WTO grants, but we have also provided some clarification on some improvements. The IPR chapter obviously covers the whole range of IP rights, such as trademarks, copyrights, and patents, to just name those three. With respect to the patent protection, and the agreement contains guarantees that products which are exported from Switzerland to Malaysia under patent protection will not be discriminated in comparison to the locally produced products, the so-called import equal working the patent. We've also been able to include some test data protection. Here, it's more about providing some clarification as to what is included. In terms of geographical indication, unfortunately here we have not included a list of geographical indications. This is because the Malaysian system for the time being does not allow to do this. However, we've agreed to include an evolutionary clause, meaning that if in the future Malaysia was to include a list of GIs, for instance, with the EU, that from the Swiss side, we could also revisit this part and include such a list in the agreement. Turning to TSD, Trade and Sustainable Development. This is obviously also very important from a political level also. We've been able to include a very comprehensive chapter in this as well. The Trade and Sustainable Development chapter contains a strengthened approach to dispute settlement for sustainability provisions. So basically meaning that the party can request the establishment of an independent panel of experts to try to resolve any issues that could not be resolved between the parties. The panel would then issue a report which would contain recommendations. Then finally, the parties also, or in the agreement, or not in the agreement, but as a side part, we have issued a joint statement on sustainable palm oil, where the EFTA states and Malaysia reaffirm their shared and ongoing commitment to work together to conserve forests and to support and promote sustainable supply chains and sustainable production of commodities. You will find, by the way, all the documents and the texts of the agreement on the EFTA webpage already. To conclude, if I still have a few minutes, I would just say a few words about the steps that are required before the free trade agreement will be able to enter into force. So on the Swiss side, now we are in the process of drafting the message of the Federal Council to Parliament. Then basically for parliamentary approval, Parliament then takes over, and we foresee, if everything goes well, that probably in spring or fall session 2026, the debate will take place, and the Parliament will approve it. Once this step is taken, there is 100 days waiting time to see whether a referendum is called for. If this is not the case, and if Malaysia has then also concluded its domestic procedure for the ratification of the agreement, the free trade agreement can enter into force. This entire process, without the without or let's say, if there's no referendum being called, I think we should be able to have the entry into force of the agreement by early or mid 2027. If you have any questions, of course, in the meantime, you can always address them to SECO. But I would like now to pass the floor to my colleague Ilona, who will be presenting the outcome of negotiations and have comments on the part of trading goods. The floor is yours, Ilona. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot also from my side for the opportunity to participate in this webinar. I'm an advisor in Trading Goods team in the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, and I negotiated the trading goods part of the FTA with Malaysia from 2019, so just before COVID hit, up to 25. I can say I have negotiated other agreements. I can say that this process was one of the very good negotiation processes with a lot of willingness from both expert teams in trading goods to move forward. And even during the pandemic, as Michael has said, it slowed down the process, but we did not stop the negotiations. So I will start with a little short overview of bilateral trade in goods between Malaysia and Switzerland. Malaysia is a very important trading partner for Switzerland. It's the fourth largest trading partner in Southeast Asia, only after Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And as you can see here, the statistics show that trade between the two economies has been increasing steadily over the past 20 years. Here on the next slide, you can see trade, imports, exports, the most important products we trade. You can see there is an overall relatively good balance, with Switzerland having a slight trade surplus. The most important products, I will name them because I realized it's very small. The print is very small. So for exports from Switzerland to Malaysia, we mainly export machineries, mechanical as well as electronical, pharmaceuticals, clocks and watches, and optical, medical and surgical instruments. And on the import side, so imports from Malaysia to Switzerland, it's also machinery, both electrical as well as mechanical, as well as optical, medical and surgical instruments, but also we import a lot of rubber and aluminum from Malaysia. Here a remark, as has mentioned my colleague before, we have a lot of documents on the EFTA webpage, and there also you can find these statistics. You can also go in much more detail if you're interested. So this is at the HS level 2, but you can go into the different products if you're interested in bilateral trade between the two economies. So now I will move on to the main negotiation results and give an overview over that. So when we negotiate market access for trading goods, we have mainly two parameters that we use to measure the overall results of the outcome of the negotiations. One is the tariff line coverage and the other is the trade coverage. So in terms of the tariff line coverage that you can see on the left side, Malaysia has offered to EFTA/Switzerland duty-free, quota-free market access for 98% of their products/their tariff lines. This is after a maximum of 10 years transition period after the entry into force of the agreement. This means that only 2% of tariff lines remain excluded from the agreement. These are the most sensitive products for Malaysia, and I will come later to this excluded list. So for the 98% of tariff lines or products that are covered, you can see on the right side that they represent almost 100%. I think it's a 99.9% of current exports from Switzerland to Malaysia. And with these two parameters, you can see very clearly that the Swiss export interests are covered with the agreement that has been signed this week. So going to the next slide, as I said, I will come to the excluded products. I called it shortlist because it's actually comparably also to other trade agreements, a short list. It includes 207 tariff lines. As mentioned before, these are really the sensitive products for Malaysia, and for agricultural products, this concerns mainly some basic products such as milk and rice, but also all alcoholic beverages and tobacco products. And then in the industrial sector, it concerns mainly cement and some iron and steel products, as well as cars and all explosives, weapons and ammunition. For companies that are listening now that might be interested whether their products are actually included or whether they're on this excluded list, you can look this up also on our EFTA webpage, where you have all the texts of the agreement as well as the annexes, and there in the Malaysian trading goods annex you find the excluded products. In case you have any questions, you can also write an email. I'm also available for questions concerning the exact products that might be included or excluded under the agreement. Then we have a third parameter that we use to measure the overall outcome of the agreement. This is called the potential tariff savings. We calculate these based on the current exports from Switzerland to Malaysia. And then we take into account the overall duty reductions after the transitional periods have expired. That means after 10 years after the entry into force of the agreement. And here we estimate about 13 million Swiss francs. However, maybe you wonder, maybe you have seen other potential tariff savings in other agreements. They're relatively low compared to FTAs recently concluded, such as, for example, Thailand. This has different reasons. One of the main reasons is that Malaysia is already applies already lower MFN tariffs in general than, for example, other countries in this region, as for example Thailand. So there are different reasons to this. Then I will, excuse me, here. I will come to the Swiss side, and obviously Switzerland also made a lot of concessions whilst negotiating the trading goods part of the agreement. So first we have the industrial product where Switzerland commits to maintain the elimination of all customs duties on imports from Malaysia. This includes industrial products, fish, and other marine products. And then we have agricultural products, and here Switzerland's concessions to Malaysia are comparable to other concessions granted to recent free trade partners, such as in particular to Indonesia, while also respecting our national agricultural policies and sensitivities. Worth mentioning in particular under the agricultural products, also palm oil, which is one of Malaysia's main export interests. And there, Switzerland grants Malaysia limited preferential market access in form of tariff rate quotas at reduced duty rates inside these tariff rate quotas. And important also, these concessions are identical to those granted by Switzerland to Indonesia. They're also subject to the same sustainability requirements. And as has mentioned Michael before, we have also agreed to the additional joint statement reaffirming our sustainability commitments in this regard. This also brings me to the conclusion of the overview of the trading goods negotiation results. So all over we have a very good agreement. It's a mutually beneficial FTA based on common trade interests, and Switzerland's exports interests are covered by the agreement. As I had said before, it's almost 100% of the current trade that will be liberalized under the agreement, and it's 98% of the overall products, which means that also future trade will be mainly covered. So this is it from my side, from our side. Thanks a lot for listening to us, and in case you have any questions, we're here, and we're also here after this webinar. We're here also to respond by email or phone.
Thank you so much, Ilona and Michael, for this overview. I'm looking very much forward to this new trade agreement for Malaysia, with Malaysia, next to the others that we have also. So good times, good news for us here in Switzerland. I move to the panel discussion. I think we just continue with the program. The flexibility is key when doing business in Asia. I think that's in our DNA. So I would jump immediately and continue the flow of the value of the text that we just heard, what is going on, with an expert that knows how to handle with rule of origins. It's Marcel Blöchlinger, Manager Indirect Tax Global Trade at Ernst & Young. And I immediately jump into that chapter with you. Can you share with us now, hearing that we have different frameworks on hand, based on a concrete example on how a specific product group might benefit from the rule of origin, how to handle them under this free trade agreement, and if possible to compare it with a previous framework, just to continue with that topic.
Yes, so I think the current free trade agreement, or the one that has been signed, is quite interesting for exporters. On the one side, it includes general rules of sufficient processing. You also have different product-specific rules that have to be fulfilled. For example, the value of non-originating materials, tariff change, or wholly obtained. So this is kind of the standard rules. But I think what clearly sticks out and what is also very interesting for Swiss exporters, if their products pay duties in Malaysia currently, is that you are actually having the possibility to do accumulation of ASEAN, EU, China, and Turkish non-agricultural products, basically. So you can also, in your supply chain, procure these goods, and if they qualify as originating materials, for example, if you buy EU products, they qualify as originating products under the EU-Switzerland Free Trade Agreement, and then these materials are incorporated into a final product that is afterwards shipped to Malaysia. This can also count as originating material. So it basically allows you also to source from other countries and not only from EFTA states or Malaysian parties. So I think this is something that is very interesting. Also, when looking at the value of non-originating materials, this is also quite high, between 60 or 65%. And when I also compared this a bit with the FTA that was recently signed also with Thailand, there we can also see that you have higher value of non-originating materials, but you have no possibility to accumulate materials coming from ASEAN, EU, China, or Turkey. So I think this, I would say, stands out the most. And I think just in general, to apply the rules of origin, it's also there are also certain clauses in there that you can, for instance, provide the origins or the declaration of origin at a later stage.
Okay, thank you so much for this initial view. How does Swissmem looks into that free trade agreement? I guess Swissmem is the leading association for Switzerland's technologies industry. So I guess you have already some voice from members that are looking forward to this free trade agreement. What is the echo coming from that industry? Adrian, who's unmuted. Yes, here. Adrian, can you hear me? Sorry.
Now, I'm really sorry. Something went wrong. I really apologize.
We are
Sorry
flexible.
for that.
All good.
Exactly.
All good.
I had to restart my team. Sorry for that. So
I suppose important voice from Swissmem. Yes.
Thank you so much. Could you please repeat your question? I did not get that.
Yes, we have heard that this free trade agreement gives very positive signals, and for us, always important. Swissmem being the leading association for Switzerland's technology industry, which is one of the significant players. And both Malaysia and Singapore and Switzerland are in this industry very strong. For me, or for us, interesting to hear the voice of Swissmem, of the members, of those who are, let's say, waiting for such a free trade agreement. What is the voice? What was the feedback?
Yes, maybe. I mean, of course, Swissmem stands for free trade. Free trade is one of the keys for our well-being. I mean, this is the key of Swiss industry, and maybe to the agreement itself, the Malaysia-EFTA agreement, it unlocks several concrete opportunities, of course, for Swiss technology and industrial companies. Maybe 4 points. First, of course, the market access. tariffs on nearly all industrial goods are being eliminated. We heard that before, making Swiss machinery and electronics and medtech products more price competitive in Malaysia, of course. Secondly, strategic partnerships. For the first time, Swiss companies can access Malaysian public procurement market. This is very important, opening doors in sectors like infrastructure, transport, and healthcare. Fourth, supply chain integration. Of course, the agreement allows cumulation with ASEAN, EU, China, and others, enabling more flexible and cost-efficient production and sourcing strategic across the region. And fourth point, innovation and sustainability. The deal supports collaboration in areas like clean tech, digital transformation, and vocational training, one of the main topics of Swiss industries, giving Swiss companies a platform for long-term growth and, of course, innovation in Southeast Asia. In short, it's not just about trade, it's about strengthening industrial positioning of one of Asia's most dynamic markets.
Also, very positive feedbacks looking forward, also from the Swiss Fem side. Let me go to Penang, live from Penang. I see Sanjeev, you are the Country Finance Director at VAT Group Malaysia, a company that myself I know from almost day one, and evolving and growing along the way. Sanjeev, tell me something about Malaysia. How has Malaysia evolved as a business location for VAT since it started? You are the figure guy, so you have probably seen what happened in the past. So you can probably elaborate a little bit also on that.
Sure. Good morning, Angel, and my fellow panelists, as well as the viewers. Yeah, so VAT Group, we started like a decade ago in Penang. And if you are not familiar with VAT Group, we provide advanced vacuum technologies and solutions to semiconductors as well as the advanced sciences, where we are the global market leader with more than $1 billion in revenue, and as well as with servicing big customers like ASML, Lam Research, Applied Materials, Tokyo Electron. So since we have started, right, Malaysia has progressed significantly. So there is a shift from purely cost-driven manufacturing to value-added services, where you can see a lot of R&D activities, especially in the semicon side of things, are happening. And trade has been happening with a lot of global companies over the past 50 years in Malaysia. So now there's a growing emphasis on advanced manufacturing, automation, and of course the Industry 4.0, and some of them are already talking about 5.0. The advantages, right, that we see over the period and which are growing to evolve, the stable political environment, which we see across the decade that we have been operating here compared to some of the neighbors in this region. And the costs, from finance perspective, I can tell the costs are very competitive compared to some of the other high-tech hubs. And since the ecosystem has been existing for the last 5-6 decades, the skilled workforce, it's been increasing every year over the decades in engineering and technical fields. And also strong government focus on attracting high-tech industries, so they kind of ensure, like with trade agreements such as the current one that we are discussing about, are provided so that the industries and companies can grow and thrive. And while we evolve, those are the some of the advantages, but of course there are challenges as there is more and more companies coming and operating in Malaysia. Talent retention and competition for skilled workforce is always going to be there. And of course, with the geopolitical situation right now, there's always a consideration on supply chain resilience that we need to be aware of. And for Swiss firms, especially in the high-tech sectors, from our experience, Malaysia offers a solid springboard into ASEAN and Asia Pacific as well. And relatively speaking, there's a good IP protection environment as well as the strong supplier networks in a lot of industries, and the industry that we operate in, advanced machining and electronics. There's a very solid supplier networks here. So that's what we have seen over the last 10 years as we evolved our businesses, and we have grown strength to strength and has become one of the key regional hubs for the VAT group.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your contribution, Sanjay from Penang. And we just move the country, the city in the same country from Penang. We move to Kuala Lumpur. Her Excellency Chantal Moser, our Swiss ambassador to Malaysia. Now we have you in. Finally, thank you so much for your patience. I would say the floor is definitely yours.
Well, thank you so much, and good morning, Switzerland. Greetings from Kuala Lumpur. Sorry for the slight delay, but I managed to follow the conversations, and hopefully I can give you a few pointers that complement what the previous speakers have been saying. So thank you so much to SG for organizing this event and for the kind invitation and giving me the opportunity to say a few words. So the conclusion of this FTA, EFTA Malaysia, has been said before, it's very timely. It's the 5th FTA that we have in the ASEAN region after Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand. So now comes Malaysia. And it's also an important signal in these challenging times coming from two open economies that are committed to a rules-based trading system. And I think it's also very positive that we managed to conclude this in this, yeah, as I said, challenging times. It shows also the common interest that we have between Switzerland and Malaysia when it comes to supporting multilateralism and a rules-based system. Switzerland is a very important actor in Malaysia. Trade figures have been mentioned before. Malaysia is the 4th biggest trading partner for Switzerland in ASEAN. But as we've heard also from Swiss companies that have been here for a very long time, there have been very big investments from Swiss companies happening in Malaysia. And Switzerland is actually the 6th biggest investor in Malaysia with $7.7 billion worth of investment in FDI stocks. So you can see the strong footprint, economic footprint of the Swiss companies here. We have roughly 170 companies that are already present in Malaysia, and Malaysia is the 2nd destination for Swiss FDI in ASEAN, just behind Singapore. So the panel discussion that we've just heard gives you a bit of a flavor of one of these companies that has been very successful here in Penang. There are also many others. The macroeconomic indicators are very positive, despite the current headwinds and challenges already mentioned. For Malaysia this year, the central bank is forecasting a growth rate of between 4.5 to 5.5%, knowing that Malaysia is also facing potential reciprocal tariffs by the US. 24% has been announced. Like Switzerland, Malaysia is currently negotiating with the US administration and see where that final number will be. But despite these headwinds, as I said, the growth performance as forecasted is quite solid. Headline inflation is also under control, between 2 and 3.5% for 25. Unemployment rate is low, around 3%. We've heard it from that before. There's a bit of a challenge also in talent acquisition. And there is a good progress also on the side of fiscal consolidation. So that gives you a bit of an overview as an observer here of what the macro indicators are for Malaysia. The government has also been in place since 22. Next elections are foreseen for 27. There's an active policy followed by this government to diversify its trading partner, and also in attracting FDI that will help the country to move up the value-added chain. 2025 is also an important year, generally speaking, for the bilateral relation between Switzerland and Malaysia. Malaysia is currently the chair of the ASEAN, and Switzerland being a sectorial dialogue partner that allows us to have a number of high-level engagements between Switzerland and Malaysia, including at ministerial level. And this helps promoting the bilateral agenda, because beyond the FTA, we still have negotiations on the way regarding an investment protection agreement that we hope to progress this year. And so these high-level visits also help to keep this positive momentum. We had recently also a visit of the EFTA Parliamentary Committee, and that's quite important because as it was explained previously by the SECO colleagues, we will now start the internal procedures towards the ratification of the agreement. And as you know, in Switzerland, the parliament has a very important role to play with this respect. So I was very pleased that we could host this delegation of Swiss and EFTA parliamentarians back in April. So to sum up, the team of the Swiss Embassy remains very committed in supporting the implementation of the agreement together with colleagues at SECO, and of course also to support any Swiss SME that has interest in the Malaysian market together with colleagues at SGE. Again, thank you so much for taking the initiative today for this webinar, and I look forward also to the Q&A question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your positive outlook, and you just mentioned the questions. Yes, I also remember to put the questions into the chat, so you have this possibility to ask questions. I would suggest we continue now with Mr. Ahmed Benjamin, our Chargé d'Affaires at the Embassy of Malaysia in Switzerland. I hope you are also in. We just changed a little bit the flow, but as said, we are just flexible, right? So if I may, after what has certainly be a busy and meaningful time for you too, Mr. Ahmed. We are honored to hear your reflection at this important momentum, and I would suggest to give the floor to you. You have to unmute. We cannot unmute, Miss. So meantime, we otherwise go into the Q&A. We can always change, but in the meantime, we check the technical issues, so we are super flexible here. Okay, yeah, I would suggest to start with one question that goes, my opinion, to Ilona Greminger. You emphasized that the negotiation with Malaysia took place in a particularly constructive atmosphere compared to other countries. To what extent was Switzerland able to fully achieve its negotiation objectives, or were there even outcomes that exceeded the original expectation? So here we want to hear what is not written in the paper.
Yes.
Ilona here, yes.
Yes, thank you, Angela. Yes, I have said it before. I mean, it's a very good negotiation result. It's also a good result compared to other recently concluded negotiations. I'm talking always in the perspective of trading goods. As I have mentioned, we have almost full trade coverage, which means that almost all products will be fully liberalized under the FTA. And of course, for trading goods perspective, this is always the goal. It's to liberalize trade as extensively as possible. And in this regard, yes, I think, yes, we have achieved our goal.
Okay, thank you very much. I have another question that probably goes also to the team SECO in regard to pharmaceutical and medtech. What are the specifics of IPR protection and procurement for Swiss products? Is there a chapter in the agreements that goes into this detail?
I can take that one on if you'd like, Ilona. I mean, without going into the details, yes, there's a section on IPR section that deals with patent protection. You'll find that in, I think, Annex 19. On GPR, there's also commitments that have been undertaken. There's a Schedule 20. In terms of the the details, what exactly is has been included and on the terms of it, I think it would be best maybe if we have a bilateral, or I put you in contact with the IP office for the IP questions, and with our colleague from SECO what concerns government procurement. But both of those topics are indeed covered in the agreement. Thank you.
Then something that I'm not sure if I got it now or from the papers that we have on hand, the schedule of the planned tariff reductions under the agreement, if they are already available. Is this in probably also same team?
Yes, I can take this question. Yes, they're available on the EFTA web page. There you can find the whole agreement, and the tariff schedules you find in the annex section, and there you have for each partner you have its own tariff schedule. So you have one for Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, and then also one for Malaysia.
Also good. And I have something else on tax. Are royalties and other tax like VAT on software licenses and SaaS services part of the agreement? Ilona, you want to continue?
I'm not quite sure if I got this question.
Are royalties and taxes on software licenses? It goes into software IT, software as a service. If this is part of the agreement.
I see the question now in the chat. It's probably part of the services part. I don't know. I have to say I don't know. I don't know this part.
We can come back. Oh, sorry, Michael.
No, exactly. I was going to say maybe we can take this one on when they're quite specific. I mean, the agreement is fairly lengthy, but we can pass it on to the relevant experts in those sections and get back to you.
Sure. I'm just checking the questions coming in. There is one more. Are there any special provisions regarding Labuan as an offshore financial service place of business?
I'm not aware of it, that there is, but I will just to be on a safe side. We have had the financial services or the services team that will deal with that, so I can take that question on. But top of my head, I wouldn't be aware of that. Thank you.
One more. Does the FTA, EFTA Malaysia allow to ship goods from Switzerland through a central warehouse in Germany to Malaysia?
Yeah, this is a the rules of origin question. I don't know if the expert that is in the here knows already what is in there. Otherwise, I will take it back to our experts.
I would also say, Marcel, if you can say something.
Yes, I think from what I've seen in the document, actually per se, there is no direct shipment rule in the agreement, as you can find it sometimes in others. But I would need to check, but I haven't seen something from a first look through, but I can take that up later.
Okay, thank you. So let's try to reconnect with Bern, our chargé d'affaires at the Embassy of Malaysia here in Bern. Mr. Ahmed Benjamin, you're in.
Yes.
Yeah, we are looking forward for your additional reflection on this momentum here in Switzerland.
Yes, thank you so much, Angela. Can you guys hear me now? Apologies for the technical
Okay.
issue that I had just now. Yes, first of all, let me begin by extending our sincere appreciation for the Swiss Global Enterprise, SGE, and yourself, our moderator, Angela, for conveying this timely and meaningful session. It is my honor to represent the Embassy of Malaysia in Bern to share some reflections on behalf of Malaysia regarding the recently signed Malaysia-EFTA Economic Partnership Agreement, or we call it MEEPA. Malaysia is both pleased and proud that MEEPA was officially signed on the 23rd of June, last Monday, in Tromsø, Norway. And this marks a historic milestone in our relations with the EFTA bloc and comes after years of thoughtful negotiations and mutual understanding. And this is quite frankly a very welcome development and good news for not only policymakers, but also to our business communities, investors, workers, and also consumers on both sides. Like that was what was mentioned earlier, MEEPA is Malaysia's 18th free trade agreement, making it a strategic achievement in our pursuit of economic diversification. And this agreement reinforces Malaysia's commitment to open, rules-based, and forward-looking trade frameworks. And the conclusion of MEEPA could not have come at a more crucial time, as the global trading environment continues to face headwinds, including supply chain disruptions, trade fragmentation, and also economic uncertainty. And again, what was mentioned earlier, beyond its immediate benefits, we also view MEEPA as a precursor and a stepping stone to a broader and deeper economic engagement with the whole of Europe. It will also very much put more focus on Malaysia-EU Free Trade Agreement, or MEEFTA. And in practical terms, MEEPA offers tangible benefits to business community, and upon entry into force, the agreement will grant duty-free access to over 90% of Malaysia's exports to EFTA, covering all industrial products. At the same time, Malaysian companies and consumers will benefit from increased access to high-quality Swiss and EFTA products, including pharmaceuticals, precision machinery, medical devices, and premium food products. This is a complementary relationship that creates room for mutual growth. And that said, we are also mindful of the challenges ahead, particularly with regard to the ratification process. While the signing is a major success, the agreement still requires ratification by all EFTA member states. And if I may, in Switzerland, this includes the possibility of a referendum, which sufficient public opposition should sufficient public opposition arise. We recall the experience that was faced on the Indonesian EFTA CIPA in 2021. And this illustrates the importance of public trust, transparent communication when it comes to international trade. To that end, the Embassy of Malaysia in Bern stands ready to play a proactive and supportive role throughout the next phase of MEEPA's journey. We will work closely with Swiss authorities, SECO, the EFTA Secretariat, and stakeholders across civil society and business community to facilitate a smooth ratification process. We are also committed to clarifying any misperceptions, particularly around Malaysia's sustainability efforts, and also to provide factual, up-to-date information to support constructive dialogue. And in conclusion, MEEPA is not just a document, it's a strategic platform for resilience, growth, and shared prosperity. It creates new bridges between Malaysia and EFTA, particularly Switzerland. And with the right support, it can become a powerful success story of progressive and inclusive economic diplomacy. We look forward to working together with all of you to ensure its smooth ratification, effective implementation, and long-term impact. Thank you and terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak, Mr. Ahmed, for your closing words. Yes, we hope the session helped to clarify the opportunities this agreement offers. And of course, if you have questions or need further support, our team is here. This is the contact. These are the contact details of our export help team working behind the chat today. They are usually our first point of contact and are ready to support you in putting today's insights into action as well. For me, it's time to say thank you. For you, it's not yet time to say goodbye because you have please to fill out our survey. In the meantime, a big thank you to, as said, to the export help team. A special thanks to our speakers today, to our special thanks to our event team for this smooth organization of this session. And yeah, these are the contacts. Stay in touch. Wishing you a great weekend ahead and goodbye.